Hello, students. Good morning and welcome back to Daily Newspaper Analysis. And I hope your preparation is going well. So, let's start our discussion for today. So, today we are having four important topics about the agriculture PV, that is, agriculture photovoltaic cells. So, these cells were in news because India is striving hard to ensure the energy security for India and mainly through a renewable source of energy. Second article is related to World TB Day. Third is Shahid Divas because on every year on 23rd of March we celebrate Shahid Divas. So we shall be discussing the complete background and then we shall be discussing the chronology, which is important for modern history. And next important article is related to minor planet center. So actually it's not a a very big article, but we shall be extracting some prelims related points. After that, a practice question as we are discussing daily. And finally, the places in news. Today also I will be giving two or three important news and we shall be discussing the yesterday's news topics also. So this is the first article. Just a second. So this is first article related to agri PV or agriculture photovoltaic cells. So the context is that the outlay or the expenditure for PM Kusum scheme, which is related to generating solar power in the farm field itself. So outlay has been increased. So in then this context only, agriculture PV is very important. So, see, we shall not be discussing the summary for this news because it's not important for the exam. We shall be discussing only the important point photovoltaic cells. So, the combination of these two things, we will call it as agri PV. That is the combination of agriculture as well as photovoltaic cells for the generation of energy. So, here we can say that a single field is turning into a powerhouse of both for food as well as energy. That's why this concept is very important. So see, since India is striving hard to increase the amount of renewable energy, that's why this topic will be important for every year, even for prelims also and mains also. So first of all, let's understand the working of solar photovoltaic cells. Then only you will understand that why we are combining the agricultural field with the photovoltaic cells. This is a solar panel, and a solar panel is made up of silicon wafers. So first important thing to note is solar panels are mainly made of silicon wafers. So which element is used? It is silicon. Now, on these silicon wafers or on these solar panels, now sun rays are falling. So when sun rays are falling, because of that, sun rays will excite the electrons. What sun rays will do? They will excite the electrons which are present inside the silicon wafers. And as we know, we have already read in science that if the movement of electrons is increased, then the movement of electrons will lead to the generation of electricity. And hence, same thing is being done in the solar photovoltaic cells. So you can understand it with a simple analogy. For example, there is a box containing of small marbles, and for example, you are hitting a ball on this box containing marbles. So because of this hit, no, the marbles now started moving here and there. So these marbles you can consider as electrons. So as sun rays fall on these solar panel cells, so it leads to the excitation of electrons, and hence electrons excite, they move, and movement of electrons generate electricity. A second important thing to note here is that you must know that silicon is a semiconductor. And what are semiconductors? Semiconductors are the middle category which comes between the conductors and the insulators. So see, if you put a lot of energy in a particular conductor, no, maybe the electrons will not work in that way. So that's why, especially for the solar panel cells, we use semiconductors, because in semiconductors, see, semiconductors means they are not very good conductor or of electricity in normal state. But if you provide them energy, for example, here the energy is through solar energy. So then electrons excite and then they generate electricity. So that's why semiconductors are very good type of elements in the solar panel cells. So in this way, solar photovoltaic cells work. Okay, now one more important thing to discuss here is, see, now as we know that now finally electricity got generated. We got electricity. How we got electricity? Because of the movement of electrons. Electricity generated because of the movement of electrons. Now, the electricity which is generated here, no, it is a type of direct current, or we call it as DC. Why it is a direct current? Direct current is a current which flows only in one direction and do not change the direction. For example, if I am talking of a simple battery in your phone or battery in your laptop. So if make a simple diagram of battery, so this is a diagram of battery. For example, this I am connecting a bulb with this circuit. So if you see in circuit diagram, the current always flows from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. So this is the flow of electrons. This is the flow of current. Right. So can you see here? The current is always flowing in one direction. The current will not change the direction. So this current we call it as direct current. So similarly, when we are talking about the solar photovoltaic cells, and I have already said that here we are using silicon. So you don't need to go much in detail, but just for your knowledge, in silicon we use P and N junction diodes. So basically, you can consider it as the positive and the negative end of the battery. See, battery and PN junction are not similar, are not same, but you can consider it in this way that inside silicon wafers also we have an arrangement like battery. And if the electrons are excited in the silicon vapors, then it will lead to movement of electrons and hence current will be generated. But important thing to note here is the direction of the current will always be same in the solar panel cells. And if the direction is same, and then the current generated will be the direct current. Now, another type of current, what we know is the alternating current. So, for direct current, if we make a graph, no, so this will be the graph. No, it never changes the direction. But for the alternating current, every time it will change the direction. So the no other appliances like the fridge, TV in our house, no other household appliances, they use alternating current, not the direct current. So where we will find the direct current in the batteries, like the mobile batteries, like the phone batteries, other kind of batteries. And where do we use alternating current? So other kind of home appliances we use alternating current. Now, if we are talking about DC and AC, so let's understand one, two small differences. So, first important thing we discussed is about the direction. So, this is unidirectional and it changes the direction. Second important thing is direct current cannot travel to long distances, whereas alternating current can travel to long distances. That's why we use it in the home appliances because we want this current to travel to no long distances, and the efficiency of direct current is low as compared to efficiency of alternating current. So this is the second reason why we use alternating current in our home appliances. So this was the overall thing about the solar photovoltaic cells, about the direct current, alternating current, etc. etc. Now, briefly discuss the key features of agri PV, that is agriculture photovoltaic cells. So, first important thing is the elevated mounting. So, elevated mounting means, see, here, for example, this is your field. So, elevated mounting means that no, it will not hinder your crops. What we will do, no, we will make a very elevated stand and here we will mount our solar panel cells. So panels are fixed several meters high to ensure clearance for the farmers, laborers, tractors, etc. to work or operate between them. So this is very important thing because no function is being distracted, no function is being hindered, and plus you are adding solar panel cells there. Second thing is the variable design. Variable design means first can be the row based. Row based, for example, here you are planting crops also, and along with crops, you are setting up solar panel cells also. So these are row based. That in one row we have plants, in one row we can have solar panel cells. Second kind of important type is the vertical. Vertical means the bifacial solar panel cells. Bifacial solar panel cells means, see, we know this is a solar panel cell. So this is a simple type of solar panel cell. So what will happen here? No, that sun rays will strike here. It will excite the electrons and energy will be generated. But now second kind, so bifacial means, for example, some of the sun rays are striking here and some of the sun rays are striking on the ground. So this opposite side, no, this is the opposite side. So these sun rays will be reflected from the ground and will go back to the backward surface of the solar panel cell. So in this way, both the faces of the solar panel can generate electricity. So this was about the variable design. Now about the microclimate control. So microclimate control, as I have already discussed, that these solar panels will be at the elevated height and beneath them we can plant the crops. So because of that, because of the high temperature or because of the extreme sunlight, these plants can be easily protected. So also it will reduce the soil temperature and hence the evaporation or evapotranspiration from the soil can be reduced and hence soil moisture can be maintained. So this is the microclimatic control. After that, technical optimization. Technical optimization, the meaning is, see, uses the panels uses specific spacing and tilt to balance the light saturation point of crops. So what is the meaning of this light saturation point? See, for example, just a second. These are your plants and these plants are receiving solar energy. So what the meaning of light saturation point is, that intensity of light or that amount of light at which the photosynthetic activity will be at its maximum. Even after that, if you give more light, no, there will be no increase in the photosynthetic activity, and no, contrary to that, it will lead to detrimental effects on the plants. So that is the meaning of light saturation point. So in the agri PV, you have to take care of these things also. That what will be the amount of tilt of the panel so that adequate amount of sunlight reaches to the plants. So here technical optimization is also done so that you can maintain the photosynthetic activity also. Now, after that, opportunities for India in agri PV. That means what are the basically advantages of agri PV? So first important advantage is the income diversification itself. So see, farmers gain a secondary and stable income from selling the surplus power. See, as we know that in this field, I am planting the crops also and I am planting the solar power cells also. So farmers have variety of options in this. One thing is farmers can plant crops as well as farmers can set up solar power cells, and if they have the surplus amount of energy, then they can sell this energy and hence they can generate the income. Second thing, what farmers can do, for example, farmers are planting their crops here and farmers can lease half of their land to the other developers to set up the solar panel cells. So in this way also farmers can generate the alternate source of income, the adequate amount of income. Second opportunity is related to water conservation. So as I have already discussed that the solar panel cells will provide the adequate shading and that shading will reduce the evapotranspiration so that soil can retain its moisture. And if soil is retaining its moisture, then obviously the irrigation needs will reduce. So this is the important point about water conservation. Third thing is about the land neutrality. Land neutrality means you have to maintain a balance between the food generation as well as fuel generation. Because generally there is a debate that, okay, you are setting up solar panel cells because we need renewable energy. But setting up solar power cells will take up a huge amount of land, which could have been used for the agriculture purposes. So this it is so agri PV solve this issue also, because on the same land, because of the elevated solar panel cells, you are getting land to no sow the crops also, and you are getting land to set up solar panel cells also. So that's why this concept of land neutrality. Now last concept is the rural industrialization. So rural industrialization means the surplus power which you will be generating, no, so that power only you can use for the ancillary activities. Ancillary activities means other supporting activities in the agriculture. Like you have sown the crop, you have harvested the crop, but now you have to store those crops. For example, fruits or vegetables. So you need cold storage infrastructure. Now, to operate that cold storage infrastructure, you have to buy the electricity, you have to pay the charges for that. Now imagine if that electricity also you are only generating. So it will support your other ancillary activities. Now, let's discuss briefly the challenges associated. So, first challenge associated is the elevated structure itself. Because, see, as we know, elevated structures have advantages. But to build the structure at that much height, you will be needing more and more amount of metal, that is steel. And if you are needing more steel, then it will become costlier. So, elevated structures are more costlier than the ground mounted solar panel cells. So, this is one important challenge. Second important thing is, see, as we discussed here, that the agri PV needs the technical optimization. That means you have to maintain the adequate amount of tilt so that you can balance the light saturation point. So, see, as we know that all the farmers may not be that much educated, so that they can maintain the adequate amount of tilt. So, if the tilt or shading is inadequate, then it can reduce the photosynthetic process or photosynthetic effect. Third important thing is the about the skill set. So skill set, as we have already discussed, that no to maintain the row of solar panel cells also, and to maintain the row of crops also, you need a very good quality of skills which may not be having with our farmers. Last is about the remote location. See, as we have said that in this farm, if you are setting up solar panel cells and if you are generating the surplus electricity, then you can sell this electricity to the government. But it's not like, no, it's not a product that you are taking this product in your hand and you are giving to the government. Okay, now give me the money. It's not like that. If you have to transfer the surplus amount of electricity, then you must have the adequate infrastructure for that, because the surplus electricity will be flowing through wires and other no electrical infrastructure. So if you don't have that infrastructure, then what is the meaning of surplus electricity with you? Second important thing is, if you want to sell the electricity, then the substations or the stations must be nearby you. Otherwise, it will take you a lot of time, energy, and money to sell the electricity. So, because of the remote locations of many farms, this thing become very, very difficult. And yes, as I have already discussed yesterday, that if any PYQ is related to that topic, I will discuss that so that it becomes easy for you to focus on the points which are important. So this is PYQ of 2014. So let's discuss about the PYQ. Okay, so the question is, with reference to technologies for solar power production, consider the following statements. First statement says, photovoltaics is a technology that generates electricity by direct conversion of light into electricity, while solar thermal is a technology that utilizes sun's energy to generate heat, which is further used in electricity generation process. Second is, photovoltaics generate AC, while solar thermal generates DC. Third statement is, India has a manufacturing base for solar thermal technology, but not for photovoltaics. So see, based on what we have already discussed, please try to answer this question. See, second statement is very simple because we have discussed just now. We have already discussed that solar photovoltaic cells generate DC and not AC. So this statement becomes wrong because it is saying they generate AC while solar thermals generate DC. So this is incorrect. If this is incorrect, this becomes incorrect. What are solar thermals? Solar thermals are the devices which use the sun's energy or sun's rays to generate the heat energy. And eventually, it depends on you that no that heat energy where you want to use it, whether for the generation of electricity or just for the heating purposes. The first statement says that photovoltaics uses this photovoltaics generate electricity by conversion of light into electricity. Yes, it's correct, because as we know that sun rays will fall on the silicon wafers, electrons will get excited and electricity will be generated. So yes, there will be direct conversion of light into electricity. Now, if it is talking about the solar thermal, so it utilizes sun rays to generate heat. Yes, for example, the solar water heaters, they are the example of solar thermal. So they generate heat, and that heat, it depends on you where you want to use. So this statement is correct. So if second is wrong, first is correct. Obviously, this is correct. And whenever in any statement, if any statement says no, that India does not have this, India does not have this act, India does not have this facility. So please read the statement at least twice or thrice, because no, 90% it will be wrong. Because maybe we are successful in anything or not, but for at least more than 90 or 95% things, we have some or the other initiatives. So that's why these kind of statements are very, very confusing. But still, even if you don't know third statement, then also you will get an answer. So no, this is only the motive of UPSC, that at least you must not do any wrong in the usually known facts. Maybe you do not know third statement, but at least the statement one and two are the usual known facts which you must know. That's why you have to focus on all these things. So I think we have discussed all those things which are were important for prelims and mains perspective. Next topic is related to World TB Day. So, first important thing is about the date itself. So, World TB Day is observed every year on 24th of March. So, now let's discuss about the exam related facts. So, first of all, about the World TB Day itself. So, date we already discussed, when it is celebrated on 24th of March. What is the objective of it? So, objective is obviously to raise the awareness about the TB, because it is one of the most deadliest infection, and India has still is having a lot of cases. So this is date is important. Here objective is important. Now let's discuss why 24th March is celebrated as the World TB Day. What is the reason for that? So on 24th of March in 1882, TB causing bacterium, which we call as Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it was discovered by, who discovered it? By Robert Koch in 1882. So this is the history why we celebrate this day. So whenever you read about any day, no, World Wetlands Day, World TB Day, etc., etc. So it's very important you must read its history. That no, what was the history behind. Next important thing is TB is preventable as well as curable. So it's not like other infections or other diseases like cancer or diabetes. That no, it's not curable, or HIV. It is preventable also, it is curable also. So you have to note this. This statement can also be asked in prelims. So you basically can give the statement. No, TB is not preventable or TB is not curable. So this thing is important. Now the theme of 2026. Other government exams can ask about the theme also. So what is the theme of 2026? Yes, we can end TB. Commit, invest and deliver. So this is the theme. Now the year when world has decided to end TB, that year is also important. So the global commitment to end TB was 2030, but for India it was 2025. But still, India has a lot of TB cases. So no, we can say that no, India was not completely successful to eliminate the TB cases. Now, about two important places, that is Lakshadweep and Budgam district in Jammu Kashmir, are the first places in India to be declared TB free. So this is very important. Now, in other state PSCs or other government exams, these objective things can be asked. That what are no two places in India who were first declared as TB free? So first was Lakshadweep and second was Budgam district, which is in Jammu Kashmir. Now let's discuss basic facts about TB, which can be easily asked in prelims. So first of all, what is the microorganism? It's not virus, it's not fungi, it's not protozoa. What is the microorganism? It is bacteria. And what is the name of bacteria? That is Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So TB is caused by which microorganism? It is caused by a bacteria. What is the name of bacteria? Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Now, what is the main organ which is affected by TB? So, main organ affected is the lungs. So, if TB is affecting lungs, then we call it as pulmonary TB. But important thing here is it's not like that TB will infect only lungs. So, other parts of the body can also be affected, and that TB we call it as extrapulmonary TB. Now talking about the transmission. So see, I have given these headings. No, here, for example, we can write about transmission. Here, for example, I can give the heading microorganism. So whenever you read about any disease, no, so you can also make a simple table related to all these things, so that it becomes important, so that it becomes easy for the prelims. So first of all, maybe first heading you can give about the microorganism. Second heading you can give about the organ which it is infecting. Third thing, you can talk about the transmission, the mode of transmission. Fourth thing, maybe you can talk about maybe it is preventable, curable, or whether there is any vaccine available or not. So in this way, for all the diseases you can make and you can revise for the prelims. So how TB is transmitted? It is transmitted from person to person. So for every disease, you have to focus on whether a human to person or person to human transmission is possible, whether it is zoonotic disease or not, all these things. So TB spreads from person to person. How? Through the air. When people infected with TB cough or sneeze, so person to person transmission is possible through air. Now, important thing here is not every time TB will show the symptoms. And if TB is not showing the symptoms, that TB we call it as latent TB, when the infections do not show any symptoms. Now, one more important thing for the TB is the people who have very, very low immunity, they are more vulnerable for the TB, more vulnerable for this disease. So, for example, other diseases like the HIV, in HIV immunity is reduced to a lot of extent. So, the people who have very low immunity power, those people will be prone to TB. Now, our talking about the symptoms, so as we have already discussed, that it's not like every time TB will show the symptoms. So most infections of TB do not have symptoms, and that we call it as latent tuberculosis. And about 10% of these infections can progress to the active diseases. Yes, two important terms related to TB. First is MDR-TB, second is XDR-TB. So MDR-TB is called as multi-drug resistant TB. So see, let's break it down. Resistant means any microorganism is now no longer being infected by that particular kind of drug. So that is the meaning of resistant. Multi-drug resistant means that microorganism is resistant to no more than one category of drugs. So here the TB drugs like isoniazid and rifampicin. Rifampicin and isoniazid are TB drugs, and if a bacteria is not responding to all at least these two drugs, then that condition we call it as multi-drug resistant TB. And what is the main cause? As I have already discussed, inappropriate or incorrect use of antimicrobial drugs. Because see, if no unnecessary you are taking a lot of drugs related to TB to cure TB, then eventually that bacteria will no will never be infected by those kind of drugs. So that we call it as multi-drug resistant TB. So what are those two drugs for which MDR TB we are talking about? So isoniazid and rifampicin. Second is XDR-TB or extensively drug resistant. So here, apart from isoniazid and rifampicin, other kind of drugs are also included for which now bacteria is now becoming resistant. So apart from that, isoniazid and rifampicin, we have other drugs like fluoroquinone and other kind of drugs. So not all drugs you need to remember. At least two, three drugs are important to remember here. This is a PYQ of 2014. So, although TB is not included here, but these type of questions can be asked in UPSC. So, what is the question? Out of diphtheria, chickenpox, and smallpox, which of the above diseases have been eradicated in India? So, if I talk about TB, so is TB eradicated in India? No. But are there any places where TB is completely eradicated? Yes. So, what we discussed about Lakshadweep and about Budga. So, in this way, you have to read any topic related to diseases. Next topic is related to Shahid Divas, and first important thing is about the date only. So every year, 23rd March, we celebrate as Shahid Divas. So prelims related points about Shahid Divas itself. So what is the theme? Theme was Mera Bharat, Meri Zimmedari. So this is the theme. Now, date we already discussed on 23rd March. Now, what is the reason? So 23rd March honors the sacrifice of three revolutionaries. And who were those revolutionaries? Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Shukdev. So these three revolutionaries were assassinated on that day. That's why we celebrate 23rd March as Shahid Divas. Now, let's understand the complete chronology, what all things happened. See, what happened, no? In 1928, everyone was protesting against the Simon Commission. So in 1928, everyone was protesting against the Simon Commission. And why people were protesting? Because in Simon Commission was made for the India, for no, was made to make the policies for India. But in that commission, no Indian was there. All the people were white. So in 1928, people were protesting against the Simon Commission, and in those people, Lala Lajpat Rai was an important personality. So what happened since people were protesting? So the police lathi charged on all those people. So because of that lathi charge, no, Lala Lajpat Rai suffered serious injuries, and because of those injuries, Lala Lajpat Rai died in 1928. And he who was the major person responsible for this lathi charge? So he was James Scott. So because of James Scott, Lala Lajpat Rai died because of the lathi charge. Now, because of the death of Lala Lajpat Rai, all the young revolutionaries were angered. And to take revenge of his death, they wanted to kill James Scott. But because of a mistake, no, mistakenly, instead of James Scott, who they killed, Saunders was killed. So J.P. Saunders was killed. They wanted to kill Scott, but instead of Scott, they killed J.P. Saunders. So now British will also take the revenge. So what happened after Saunders' death? All these revolutionaries, out of these revolutionaries, okay, here I want to explain. No, okay. Now we came here. Here Saunders' death happened. So why Saunders died? Because no, he was mistakenly was killed because revolutionaries wanted to kill Scott, but mistakenly they killed Saunders. So after Saunders' death, what happened? No, out of three revolutionaries, Bhagat Singh went underground for few months. Again, what started in 1929? In 1929, Bhagat Singh, along with Batukeshwar Dutt, Bhagat Singh, along with Batukeshwar Dutt, they threw the non-lethal bombs in the Central Assembly. Non-lethal bombs, what was the reason? Because their main intention was not to kill the people. So that's why non-lethal bombs. Their main intention was just to create a lot of noise so that British authorities can focus on what revolutionaries are trying to say. So their main aim was not to kill, but to make the deaf hear and protest against the repressive British laws. So what happened in 1928? They threw non-lethal bombs in Central Legislative Assembly. And what was the intention? Because they want to send their message to the people. After that, what happened? No, intentionally they surrendered. Deliberately they surrendered. What was the main aim? So that if they surrender, the authorities will take them to the court, and their main aim was to reach the court only. Because in the court, they can spread the revolutionary ideas to other people of India. So they deliberately they surrendered, and they used court as a platform to spread the revolutionary ideas. Now, what happened? That since they went to court, now Britishers started a trial against the revolutionaries. So then started Lahore conspiracy case against the Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Shakdev, and they were found guilty. Now they are found guilty, so they will be sentenced, and they were sentenced to death. So on 93rd March 1931, British authorities executed all these revolutionaries. And to observe their sacrifice, to respect their sacrifice, Shahid Divas is celebrated every day on 23rd of March. Now let's understand the chronology so that you can remember all the other events also. So what happened in 1928? People were protesting against the Simon Commission, and in that protest, Lala Lajpat Rai got killed because of a massive blow under the lathi charge by James A. Scott. So now revolutionaries wanted to kill James A. Scott, but mistakenly they killed who they killed? Saunders. So to take the revenge of Saunders, now Britishers wanted to take the revenge. After that, what happened in 1929? Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt threw non-lethal bombs on the Central Legislative Assembly, and then they deliberately surrendered. After surrendering, they went to court, and in court, Britishers started Lahore conspiracy case trial against them. And finally, they were found guilty. And since they were found guilty, they were sentenced to death. And when they were sentenced to death on 23rd of March 1931. So, to remember their sacrifice of these heroes, we celebrate 23rd March as the Shahid Divas. Next important article is the minor planet center. So, not many things are important. For prelims, at least you must know what is minor planet center and then what are minor planets. These two things are important for the prelims. What is the context? Recently, Minor Planet Center has announced the discovery of 15 new moons and 4 around Jupiter and 11 around Saturn. So let's discuss prelims related points about the MPC, that is Minor Planet Center. So what it is a worldwide repository where we collect everything. So it is a worldwide repository of what? Of minor planets, comets, and other natural satellites of the major planets. So what it is the context only 15 new moons around Jupiter and Saturn. So these are the natural satellites. So what is its main aim? Its main aim is to record the observations related to minor planets, comets, etc. So it is a worldwide repository. So how it maintains the repository? It maintains some kind of files related to observations. So see, for example, this MPC have a kind of file. So what will be present in this file? For example, a particular person has discovered a particular object in the solar system, like the minor planets or comets. So the name of observer, what was discovered, no other important facts will be recorded in this file. So this is the work of Minor Planet Center. And a second important thing is it will also announce the discoveries to the world, that who discovered, what was discovered, other important facts. So it will announce also and it will keep a track record in this file also. Now it operates at the Smithsonian Astrophysical Laboratory. This is important. More important than this is it operates under National Astronomical Union. So this thing you can remember for the prelims. And it is sponsored by NASA's Near Earth Object Observation Program. Let's discuss some important things about the minor planets, because since we are talking about minor planet center, so we must know what are minor planets. So see, you know the word asteroid, right? So minor planets are nothing but asteroids. So minor planets, also known as asteroids or planetoids, are the celestial objects, and these objects orbit around the sun. So why we are calling it that minor planets? Because compared to major planets, they are very small. That's why we call them as minor planets. Second important thing is, as you already know, that between Mars and Jupiter, we have an asteroid belt. So in that asteroid belt, we have various kind of asteroids, which we call it as minor planets. So first important thing, what are minor planets? They are nothing but asteroids. Where these asteroids are found? So they are primarily found between Mars and Jupiter, but they can be found in other places also in the solar system. Okay, so these are some of the important things. So the what is the composition of asteroids? So these are rocky and metallic bodies. Rocky also, metallic body also. This was the question of 2011 related to asteroids and comets. So it says asteroids are small rocky planetoids, while comets are formed of frozen gases held together by rocky and metallic material. So see, why I am discussing this PYQ? That because UPSC asked about the very small basic terms also. UPSC asked about the very small terms, no very small astronomical terms. like the meteoroids, like the meteors, comets, asteroids. So no, it's the question is not asking you some rocket science. Question is asking very, very basic things only. So at least you must have an idea that what are asteroids, what are comets, what are meteoroids. You can easily answer the question. For example, second statement says they are found mostly between Jupiter and Mars, while comets are mostly between Venus and Mercury. So if you have the basic idea about the asteroids and comets, you can easily answer the question. So because also that's why I say, first of all, focus on the PYQ, get an idea that what kind of questions UPSC can ask, and then read the content. A practice question for you related to photovoltaic cells. So statement is photovoltaic cells convert solar energy directly into electrical energy. Silicon is commonly used as a semiconductor material in photovoltaic cells. Photovoltaic cells require moving mechanical parts to generate electricity. Now, if you have gone through the article very nicely, what all we were discussing, so you can easily answer this question. So please provide me answer in the comment section whether answer is A, B, C, or D. And if you have any doubt, also you can also write that doubt also. Now, two places which you have to look for. So first is Adi Chanalur and second is Port of Pasni. So look for the location and look for the prelims related facts also. Now, the places in news. So first place I discussed was the South Pars. So South Pars is located in the Persian Gulf. So this is the location of South Pars. This is Persian Gulf and this is South Pars. So South Pars is being shared between Qatar and Iran, and it is world's largest offshore oil field. So it's very important. No, sorry, world's largest offshore gas field, not oil field. So first important thing, where it is located in Persian Gulf, it is shared between which two countries, Iran and Qatar. And third important fact is it's world's largest offshore gas field. Second was about the Golan Heights. So Golan Heights is located at the southwestern region of Syria. So this is Syria. This is Golan Heights. So this region of West Asia is in news every year. So at least these basic locations, these basic terms you must know. So yes, what all you have to do? First of all, you have to give me answer for the location. So give answer in the comment section only where they are located and one, two important prelims related facts. And second, no, sorry, this I have discussed. You have to provide the location and prelims related facts for this. And second, what you have to do? You have to give the answer in the comment section for this prelims question. And yes, okay, so that's all for the discussion for today. And yes, we shall meet in the next class. Thank you.